Right, guys, we're currently in downtown Abu Dhabi and it's as busy as ever. The signal's jam-packed. It's taken us almost 20 minutes waiting in the signal just to get to the mall. So I guess people did not leave. The media has been hyping up a lot. People are still here, going about their daily activities. And I'm just heading to the mall right now. And I'll be giving you guys a market update from the Galleria Mall in Reem Island. Guys, so that's the ADGM, and these four buildings over here are the most powerful square kilometer in all of Middle East. These four buildings managed more wealth than the entire British economy. That's ADGM for you. That's Abu Dhabi for you, the capital of capital for a reason. Right, guys, where have I been? I've been very silent for the last 2 weeks. Is the market crashing? Our price is going down. What's happening? Guys, everything's good. I've just been taking some time off with my family and friends. Yes, things have slowed down a bit. Yes, buyers are taking a lot more time before buying something. But I also decided to take a breather from real estate because, of course, people are worried about protecting themselves, their families, their investments. And real estate is not everything on people's mind all the time. But now we're back, and I have to say that more than a month into the conflict, Abu Dhabi's market has stayed resilient. Before I begin the video, guys, no, I do not have any distressed deals with me. What we have seen in the market recently in a couple of projects has been deals at original price or deals with lower asking premiums. That's all I've received so far, that too in minority. But the overall market, sellers are still holding strong. Buyers are still waiting for better deals to pop up. So it's a lot of wait and see on both sides. I'm standing right now in ADGM in Al Marja Island, Abu Dhabi's central financial district, the economic engine and the wealth driver behind Abu Dhabi's real estate market. And we'll be entering into this mall right now. I have to pick up some stuff. I have to do some shopping. So I'll be giving you guys a market update. Right, guys, Abu Dhabi real estate market post ceasefire debrief. So I've divided this video into 3 parts. In the first part, I'll be discussing what's happened in the last 1 month, buyer and seller behavior, how did prices hold up, how was the market. In the next part, I'll be discussing the recovery timeline and which areas were more resilient, which areas held better than the rest. In the last part, I'll be discussing where to focus, which areas to enter, and what to expect towards the later half of the year. And also towards the end, I'll be discussing a very important point, a macroeconomic point of energy lockdowns and why we could potentially see another wave of migration towards the later end of this year as energy crises and energy lockdowns accelerate and worsen in certain parts of the world, such as in Asia and in parts of Europe, right? Okay, so first of all, let's start with transactions, right? So generally, Abu Dhabi's property market in Q1 2026 and the first 3 months of the year from January till March 31st, transactions have more than doubled. The value went up from 25 billion dirhams to almost 66 billion dirhams compared to last year. So it's an increase of almost 161%. We saw around 13,000 transactions from January to March 2026 compared to 7,000 transactions in the same period 2025. So overall, yes, of course, these transactions, a lot of you will argue that these transactions were committed to before the war began, before the conflict began. Yes, that is true. There's a big majority of these secondary and off-plan transactions which were committed to before the conflict began, but still, even if buyers had the option to back out, an overwhelming majority did not back off. They still went ahead with their purchases. And of course, that only happens when the fundamentals do not change. It's not like the government or the economy has defaulted, God forbid, and the fundamentals remain the same. Okay, we did see a slowdown in the market in March. Transactions, I personally saw a decline in inquiries. Of course, naturally, buyers held back, they paused, they wanted some clarity. There were a couple of clients, as always, who backed out of their secondary market deals. Of course, everyone does it, it's expected, it's nothing extraordinary. Off-plan, of course, people are a bit more cautious putting their money in off-plan during periods of conflict. Sellers, on the other hand, To everyone's surprise, we did not see a lot of panic selling in Abu Dhabi. Sellers were holding fairly strong. Yes, there was a couple of distress deals in Hudayriat, in Reem, Saadiyat, Yas Island, but those distress deals were not as bad as I would say in certain areas of Dubai where prices went below original price up to 6, 7, 800k. I personally did not see any such deals in Abu Dhabi. If you saw any of these deals, please comment below. I'll be more than happy to look into such deals. But from my experience, from my conversations with sellers and buyers, I kept receiving offers. I kept receiving messages, people wanting distress deals. And I mean, there was hardly, a few distress deals I could count on my finger across all of Abu Dhabi's tier 1 areas. So sellers, again, and one of the reasons why sellers in Abu Dhabi were not particularly looking to panic sell is payment plans in Abu Dhabi are more flexible. They are not as heavy compared to Dubai. So sellers are not over leveraged, owners are not over leveraged. So there's no liquidity problems, right? People are better off holding their investments rather than selling below OP. And in Dubai, what happens is the buyer mentality, the huge difference between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. In Dubai, you've got these 20, 30 different areas and every area is performing really well, and buyers are FOMOing. They have a fear of missing out of entering different areas, right? So let's say if you're an investor in Dubai, you've invested in 5 areas, right? You want to de-risk from one of the areas so you can buy that distressed deal in another community, right? For example, in Dubai, what I saw was that people who were invested in Dubai South, for example, they want to pull out their money and they want to pick up that distressed deal in Emaar Valley, right? Because they've got alternatives, and these are really premium tier 1 communities where prices have held strong, so people want a piece of the pie. In Abu Dhabi, that's not the case, because in Abu Dhabi, you literally have only 4 or 5 islands where you can realistically buy. That's it. There is no such alternatives. You don't have 20, 30 different areas to buy into, right? So if you're invested in Yas Island, it's not like you want to sell your Yas property and buy something in Reem, like that's not how buyers operate in Abu Dhabi's market, right? So point being, it's a very much undersupplied market. Buyers have no alternatives, and that's why we did not see as much of a drawdown in prices compared to Dubai. Of course, asking prices, listing prices, they fell. Owners who were asking super high premiums, unrealistic premiums, they came back to reality, a couple of them. Some of them are still stuck in their fantasy land, so they'll be getting a price reality check soon as well. However, in my personal favorite areas, I would say Hudayriat Island, the distress deals which I saw, I think there was a couple of only 4 or 5 distress deals, and those were for the villas. They were at original price, not below original price. Yas and Jebel Island units, again, they went for a couple of 100,000 of premium above OP, nothing below OP in Yas or Hudayriat or Jebel or even Saadiyat. And in Reem Island, there was a couple of buildings. Of course, Reem has a lot more apartments compared to villas, so you do expect prices in Reem Island in average projects to be affected, and that's what we saw. We saw a couple of distress deals in projects. I'm not going to name the developer because I'll be issued a defamation notice, but Reem Island apartments, some of them older ones, we had a lot more motivated sellers. And of course, Dubai was, as we expected, Dubai was more worsely affected than Abu Dhabi. See, everyone knew an oversupply in Dubai is coming even before the conflict. It's nothing new. Everyone was expecting. It's just that the conflict accelerated the correction in Dubai's market. And overall for the market, it's healthy. Nothing can keep going up forever. So Dubai is offering some really solid opportunities right now in secondary market and distress deals. And let me know if you guys would be interested. I'll be more than happy to share those opportunities as well. Now, just to give you guys a perspective, right, of ready villa and townhouse communities that are handing over in 2026 in Abu Dhabi, there's literally only 2 options: Yas Park Gate, Yas Park Views, and Jebel Island Villas. That's it. These are the only 2 villa and townhouse communities which are almost ready, handing over this year, and some clusters have started handing over already. In Dubai, you've got way too many communities, villa and townhouses, which are ready or will be delivered this year. You've got Emaar Valley, you've got Nadal Shiba Gardens, the Mak Lagoons, you've got Tilal Ghaf. There's so many, I can't even name them right now. In Abu Dhabi, you've only got 2 villa and townhouse communities that are ready. Reem Hills and Saadiyat Lagoons, they've been delayed by years. They'll be handing over in 2027, right? Now, a very important point which I was asked by my clients was, do you see developers reducing their prices of plans especially? My answer was not really. I do not see developers offering any price discounts. Reason being, cost of construction has gone up. So if anything, the developers' margins have shrunk even more, and there's no reason for them to be offering such discounts, unless, of course, the conflict, God forbid, if it prolonged, if it went on for months, something like COVID, a year, 2 years, then of course, it was natural. What we will see though is flexible payment plans. We will be seeing some developers offering land department fee waivers. In Dubai, it's the 4% TLD. In Abu Dhabi, it's the 2% ADR. So I do see that being discounted from developers, but that's pretty much it. Okay, now I've created this scorecard, of communities that were resilient in Abu Dhabi during the past 1 month. Hudayriat Island, and I'm really glad to say this, I'm really proud to say this, it was the highest transacting area in Abu Dhabi's real estate market with over 12 billion dirhams of transactions. So the number 1 area in Q1 2026 for transactions, both off-plan and resale, was Hudayriat Island, followed by Reem Island, followed by Saadiyat Island. So I'm really glad, and of course, I would like to congratulate my investors as well who have invested in Hudayriat. That liquidity matters the most. You want to be invested in an area which is liquid, so that even if a market corrects, even if there's conflict, at least you can exit your investment and you're not stuck with it, God forbid, right? So Hudayriat Island, Saadiyat, and tier 1 projects in Reem, like Rivaj, Muhaira, Rivera, Sunstone, these buildings and projects held really well. There were transactions happening at original price, slightly above original price, not heavily below OP, right? So that's something really good. And tier 2, where we saw some softness and correction coming up, was of course some apartments in Reem Island, in projects that were older buildings, specifically 5-10-year-old buildings that are ready, and a couple of projects from Radian, from a couple of other developers, smaller developers, I would say, not tier 1 developers. We saw a couple of distressed deals there, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, overall, any non-waterfront stock, for example, Bloom Living, there was a couple of distressed deals there. Again, if you're not buying in tier 1 areas in Abu Dhabi, there is no point. You're just better off putting your money in the bar at that point. Okay, and just to give you guys an example of what tier 1 areas is, so you guys, Abu Dhabi, these are all the islands. So as long as you're buying on these islands and you're buying a good product, that's your tier 1 investment. Tier 2 investments in areas like City and Bloom Living over here, where you're in the desert, you're not on an island, and it's less attractive for you as investors compared to living on one of these islands. So the key to investing in Abu Dhabi is picking up a good product at the right price in the islands, and that's it. Okay, moving towards the second part now, recovery timeline. Now, guys, see, there's been a ceasefire, the war, the conflict, hopefully it ends and, we get a lasting settlement. Now, see, it's not like the market's going to recover magically in the first month of ceasefire. Of course not, right? Here's the timeline. So from now until August, for the next 3 to 4 months, I expect the market to be in a slowdown because, of course, perception has been affected. And perception takes time to recover, and a lot of residents are already abroad on vacations. You've got families with their kids, and of course schools are in distance learning. O-level and A-level exams have been cancelled. So if anything, I see families prolonging and taking extended summer vacations. And summers generally in UAE are a slower period for real estate compared to the winter. So April, May, June, July, August, I see the market being in a slowdown. And then from August onwards, I see off-plan launches, market confidence returning gradually. And it's not going to return out of magic, guys. I'll tell you guys something very important. What I'm expecting is this. We will be seeing a lot of government catalysts to boost the economy. We've already started to see some signs of business license fee reductions. For example, Abu Dhabi, UAE's free zones, they've already reduced their prices by 10, 20, 30%, incentivizing SME formation. That means more and more people can now open their small and medium businesses. Of course, as there's been a couple of jobs that have been lost in hospitality and tourism sectors, everyone wants to be their own boss. So we will see a lot more businesses opening up. I will be expecting tourism and hospitality stimulus packages, as we saw in COVID as well. Abu Dhabi and Dubai government will be using the sovereign wealth funds to protect tourism, hotels, accommodations. Of course, tourism is a huge driver of UAE's economy, and I do expect these announcements soon. I do see developers improving their payment plans. I see a lot of off-plan developers slowing down their launches, particularly those who were looking to heavily launch projects, copy-paste projects in oversupply areas. It's good. We don't need a lot of copy-paste oversupply. We need new, unique products in the market. So I hope that's clear for you guys. The next 3 to 4 months, you will be seeing a lot of good opportunities coming up in the market, mostly in Dubai, few in Abu Dhabi. And from August onwards, you will start seeing more launches, more activity in the market, and a lot more government incentives. Now, something that I wanted to talk about is and of course, on ceasefire, when the ceasefire was announced, markets went up by almost 10%. The stocks of Abu Dhabi, of UAE's companies, the real estate developers, banks, insurance companies, of course, as you would expect. Now, the third part of the video, which areas to focus on in Abu Dhabi, where is the best opportunity, which areas are safe and resilient, right? So, of course, right now you've got two options. Option number one being, we are not getting any off-plan launches right now. If there's any off-plan launches, I'll make a video on that if there's good ones. Personally, for me, Shoba's launch. So if we're getting 2 launches in Abu Dhabi this month, sorry to correct myself. Shoba and Aldar, they're launching in Yas. Now, Shoba for me is overpriced. 10.5 million dirhams for a 4-bedroom villa opposite Yas Island. I don't think that's fair value, especially when Yas has ready villas, which are almost 30% cheaper. Hudayriat, Reem Hills is on the same price tag, so I don't understand that. Price per square foot is really high. We are seeing Yas Park Place, which will be launched in April this month in Yas Island from Aldar. I believe it's going to be apartments. So these 2 launches will be really interesting to look at how they perform in the market. Of course, if the launches sell out, that will be really, I would say it would be a surprise for me as well. I'm not expecting them to sell out, but if they do, that will signal that buyers are still in the market, buyers have not been affected, and people still want to invest and continue investing. So April is a very important month. We've got these 2 launches now. Again, 2 options. First one being secondary market resales in Hudayriat Island, Saadiyat, Yas and Jebel Island. There are sellers who, if they were not looking to sell a couple of months back, now they've changed their mind and they're looking to sell, and they're a bit more flexible. You can have these conversations with them. They're open to offers compared to a few weeks back where they would not even entertain any offers like these, right? So you have a good chance of securing good deals in these tier 1 areas. In Reem Island, I haven't seen any such attractive or worth it distressed deals so far. And again, keep in mind, all that glitters is not gold. The view of the apartment, the developer, the floor, the location, how close is it to parks and malls and hospitals, all of these factors matter. Just because something is, let's say, heavily below market, that doesn't just make it a good deal. There's a lot of other factors to consider as well. And people who have invested in tier 1 assets, there's no way they are selling at OP or below OP. So Ream Hills, fantastic product. And still, even after the conflict, there are transactions happening at 3.6, 3.7, 3.8 million with an original price of 2.2, 2.3 million, right? So yeah. So I'm only going to be advising tier 1 zones in Abu Dhabi, Hudayriat, Saadiyat, Reem, Yas. These are areas which have been tried and tested now during this conflict. They've held fairly well, and I will not be advising anything else in Abu Dhabi. And of course, the fundamentals, they are unchanged. Abu Dhabi is not in an economic crisis. The government has not defaulted. Abu Dhabi is an energy sufficient country. We've got trillions of dollars, $2 trillion of sovereign wealth. That's a huge thing, right? That's more than a lot of countries' GDP, actually. That's how much money Abu Dhabi's government institutions hold. So there's no way Abu Dhabi's government institutions are letting the markets or the industries free fall or be affected by the conflict, right? And you have a lot of other industries contributing to the non-oil GDP as well. Population has grown by 7.5% in the last 2 years, and we do expect that trend to continue rising. Now, one important point I wanted to make was regarding energy lockdowns, migration wave of energy lockdowns. Now, of course, the Strait of Hormuz, even if it opens, it's not like the oil supply will be restored within the next day. It's going to take a couple of months before oil supply, they reach their pre-conflict levels, right? So it's a supply shock. It will stay there for the next couple of months. We're seeing countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Philippines, countries in Europe, right? We're seeing South Korea. We are seeing Pakistan, Bangladesh, South Korea, Philippines implementing energy lockdowns, 4-day work weeks. We are seeing restrictions on commercial activities. Malls and businesses and restaurants have been asked to close at 9 and 10 p.m. In South Korea, people have been asked to take shorter showers. And even in Europe, actually, this is not some far-fetched thing. Even in Europe, you have these conversations kicking off now, especially in Germany, and they will be holding meetings this week to deal with the impact of the conflict. Now, how does this impact Middle East positively? Now, guys, keep in mind that UAE is one of those countries globally, one of the top 10 global countries which are energy self-sufficient, energy independent, as in they rely only on their own resources, and they have enough energy that they're a global net exporter. So even if there is a global oil shock, right, oil supply shock, you've got oil within UAE itself, you've got nuclear power, you've got solar power, you've got hydropower, you've got tens of sources of electricity and power generation, right? So as you see people in Europe and Asia being affected by energy lockdowns, what does that mean? Their freedoms are being restricted, take shorter showers, return back home by 8, 9 p.m. They can't meet, gatherings and meetings will be affected. Work week has been reduced, similar to what we've seen in COVID. And why did UAE benefit the most from COVID? Because UAE was one of the first countries to open up. When Europe, parts of America, when Asia were still locked down, UAE never fully locked down its economy. UAE still kept operating and returned back to normal the quickest. So I do expect a similar situation this time around as well. As globally countries go into energy crises, I see UAE investing even more in its energy industry, and I see no such lockdowns taking place in UAE, and a lot of wealthy individuals would care and protect their freedoms from governments around the world. Also, something very, very interesting which just came in today, and I was waiting for this point to make the video, is that global wealth funds and global asset management firms like BlackRock, State Street, they have said that the conflict does not change their perspective on UAE and regional markets. ADGM is Abu Dhabi's central financial free zone, where you've got offices of BlackRock, you've got State Street, you've got Swiss banks, British wealth funds, asset management firms, and they've said that they're invested in this region for the long term, and it's unchanged. A spokesperson for BlackRock said this to the UAE's national newspaper, right? And BlackRock manages more than $14 trillion in wealth. Similarly, you've got American investment managers considering Middle East as a two-way portal of global capital flows, of course. And you've got State Street, which manages almost $6 trillion in investments. Their head of investment and strategy for Middle East just said that the conflict is not impacting their conviction to invest in Middle East and Africa. So that's something really good for clients, that when these global hedge funds and asset management firms and wealth funds are not moving out or not relocating, there's no reason for any of you to panic sell your properties in Abu Dhabi or in Dubai, unless, of course, if you're facing a liquidity crisis, if you can't make the payments on the payment plan, that's a different story. But if you are able to hold your investments, please stick to them. The market always recovers. Right. So I hope, guys, this was a helpful video for a lot of you. Overall, it's really healthy seeing the market not declining as much as we had expected initially. Transactions are still happening, although at a slower pace. Now, if any of you are interested in Abu Dhabi's real estate market, I am more than happy to work and offer you guys both resale deals as well as deals in off-plan projects. Upcoming projects, it will be really interesting to see if Aldar changes their payment plan and offers a really flexible payment plan in their next launch in Yas Island. And across Hudayriat and Reem, we are expecting a couple of more launches in the next 1 to 2 months. So just drop me a WhatsApp message with your requirements, your budget, and I'll be more than happy to guide you guys through this period. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to comment or message me directly. I'm also looking to connect with sellers in Abu Dhabi. If you're a property owner and if you're looking to exit from your investments at fair market price or below market price, please drop me a message, as I do have lots of liquid cash buyers looking for distressed deals in Abu Dhabi. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.